Let's play a really fun game of spot the difference. Okay, what can you identify the difference between these photos and these photos? Isn't it funny how differently we depict men who experience the supernatural from women? And isn't it like, I don't know, maybe it's a coincidence that the first thing they do to maybe like scare women out of exploring their spiritual side is show them that only ugly girls experience the supernatural.
Do I worship the devil? I don't worship a man. What I look like worshiping a man? Stupid.
Someone asked me to do an analysis on how religion control women and facilitate the patriarchy. And your wish is my command. I am going to do an analysis, but the book that I'm going to be doing this analysis, well, the book that I'm going to use to do this analysis is this book right here, When God Was a Woman. I'm going to put the link in the description below, and every woman should buy this book, okay? You can see, I bought this book back in 2015, so you can see that it's a bit, old and not worn, but, it's been in a drawer for a long ass time. Like, I couldn't find this book for like 2 years, and then I found it finally. But yes, this is a book that I'm going to be using to help me with my analysis. And I hope that the information that you find in this video is helpful. If you find it helpful, subscribe to this channel, turn on the bell notification, like this video because that helps a lot. And if you want more deeper, in-depth conversations and knowledge, sign up to my Patreon. If you sign up to my Patreon, you immediately have access to hundreds of videos on my Patreon that I have done over the years. So you have content to go through, literally. And yeah, let's get into this analysis. But yes, hit the link in the description and get this book. Go get this book right now. And yes, this is going to be a faceless video. I realize that the videos that I do it where I show my face, they do really well. So I'm going to start doing more of those. But for now, this video has to be faceless. Before we even get started, let me just read this comment really quick. Madam, can you do an analysis on how religion control women and facilitate patriarchy? First of all, I don't even know why you all want me to do an analysis. Maybe you want me to do a spiritual analysis, but I showed you the book that I'm going to be using to help with my analysis in the beginning of this video. So hit the link in the description and go and buy this book. When you are done reading this book and you accept that you are the first cause and you are a sovereign being, you are going to look at men and the patriarchy completely differently, and you're going to look at religion completely differently. And if you're a Christian, honestly, if you really understand your gift as a woman, you probably wouldn't want to be Christian again. Any one of these major religions out there are designed to control and suppress the voices and the gifts and the abilities of women. And I don't understand how a woman, after knowing this information, is going to go back to worshiping a male god. One of my favorite quotes from Shira 7 was when someone asked her if she worshiped the devil or whatever, and she's like, I don't worship a man. I love that. Like, if I could find that video, I'll post it here. But anyways, let's get into it, okay? So the book that I'm going to be using to help with my analysis is When God Was a Woman by Merlin Stone. Ladies, please go get that book because as women, we need to start reading more. We need to start researching more and stop with the doom scrolling, because let me tell you something. So many people out here are not reading. There are so many people, and a lot of the people that you all are listening to for advice are not reading. These bitches don't read. I've been telling you all that for years. I've been hosting a weekly book club on my Patreon for the past 5 years. Every week we get on there, and even if you don't read the book, I still encourage you to come to the book club meeting. If you can't attend, the meetings are recorded so you can listen to them while you're driving, while you're doing your chores or whatnot. It's so much better than just listening to an audiobook, because we are actually reading and discussing the book as we go along. So you're going to hear different voices, different takes on what we've read, different interpretations, and I feel like that really helps us absorb the information and also help us apply the information to our daily life. I mean, that's all I'm saying. But anyways, let's get into this analysis. All right. So what you have to understand about religion and how religion control women, the first thing they do is erase the divine feminine. Okay, the erasure of the divine feminine, it has to happen in order for us to move from goddess worship, matriarchal society, divine feminine guidance, etc., and lineage. In order for us to move away from that, we have to replace the female gods or deities with a male god. That's the only way that's going to happen, because if you truly believe that your God is a man, then you are going to view men differently and you're going to look at men as closer to God compared to yourself. We all know that women are closer to God than men are. And if you don't believe me, just take a look at men. Take a look at how these men are trapped into their lower chakras in this vicious cycle of chasing sex and just chasing low vibrational things. No intuition, nothing. They all want to be left brain and they have a disdain for the feminine. And there are definitely spiritual implications to these things. But we're going to get into that, okay? So in this video, I'm going to be talking about what most people are afraid to say out loud. Religion has been used to control women and sanctify the patriarchy. And yes, that is why so many women are male identified. And yes, that's why spiritual women are being called witches. And if you don't believe me, just look at any spiritual woman on TV or in the movies or whatnot. She is portrayed as a witch or evil. Ask yourself, what is a wizard? A wizard is the male version of a witch, okay? You rarely ever hear evil and wizard in the same sentence. You would hear like the wise old wizard. But when it's a witch, oh, that bitch is evil. So any woman that is spiritually advanced, spiritually mature, is sovereign, and know how to manipulate energies to create outcomes that she wants or outcomes that she finds favorable is seen as a witch. And we all know the history of this. We don't even have to get into it. So today, I am going to break all of this down spiritually, historically, and psychologically. And yes, I'm using the powerful lens of, the author Merlin Stone, who wrote When God Was a Woman. So we're going to start off with the divine feminine era. Back then, ancient goddesses like Isis, Inanna, fertility statues, those things were everywhere. And you can still see these images and statues. Like recently, I was in Mexico. And when I say recently, that was back in January. And there was a fertility goddess on the island of Isla Mujeres. And if you have ever been to Mexico or you've ever been to Cancun and you took the day trip to Isla Mujeres, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So we still have evidence of these goddesses all over the world. Okay? And these goddesses still do have their devotees. So thousands of years ago, before organized patriarchy, people worship goddesses. There's a reason why we call Earth Mother Earth, okay? So the goddesses, she was the earth. The goddess, sorry, the goddess. The goddess, she was the earth. She was the womb, the moon, the giver, and the taker of life. Societies were actually matriarchal, and our lineages was passed through the mother, and women held power. And they held power in the spiritual, legal, and economic realms. But of course, something changed. What happened? In a previous video, I talked about agriculture. The invention of agriculture really did facilitated the patriarchal system because men figured out a way to hoard resources, and men are still doing that today. Okay, we call them billionaires now. What happened was the patriarchal takeover. So now we have these shifts to conquest, building of temples. And this is basically what she went over in her book. And again, y'all don't have to believe me. Y'all can go and do your own research or just get a book in the description. Y'all read a book today, like, please. So she went on to mention the patriarchal tribes from Indo-European and Semitic backgrounds. And these tribes, what they did was invaded the goddess worshiping regions and began to rewrite story. Again, all you have to do is look at how a certain group of people rewrote history. Okay? And I'm not going to call name. If you know, you know. So what they did, they replaced the goddesses with a male god or male gods. They erased women from priesthood. And what they did, they also rewrote. They also rewrote sacred texts to justify male domination. So, for example, we have Eve being blamed for original sin. Okay, so the first recorded victim blaming story is the story of Adam and Eve. Well, the first recorded story of that I know of. All right. So Eve was a victim. Eve was the one that was tricked, that was deceived, because according to the story, they did not know good and evil. They were innocent. Okay. But of course, the woman is blamed. And to this day, in our year of our Lord 2025, women are still being blamed for being a victim. And that in itself, victim blaming, is a patriarchal weapon. Okay, men are the ones that invented a victim blaming. So, they rewrote these texts and, and for example, Eve blamed for original sin. We have Paul commands women to be silent and male only clergy and prophets. If a woman has like a prophetic message or prophetic vision, oh, that's a witch. Burn her to the stake. So I'm quoting this directly from the book itself, okay? The stories were changed, the symbols inverted, and the goddess demonized. So women are demonized. If you demonize the feminine goddess and you glorify the male, then of course that keeps the patriarchy standing strong. Because if you believe that God is a man and God invented patriarchy and blah blah blah, and you believe that patriarchy is natural, because if you read the Bible and if you've been a Christian all your life, you are going to believe that patriarchy is natural. You're going to believe that men are natural providers and protectors when that is not true. If you do not believe me, look at nature. The protectors and the providers are the females. Look how a mother protects her young. Look how she provides for her young and her community. Men are natural consumers and destroyers. So a man that is a provider and a protector is a man that is living or going against his natural nature. So how did all of this made women male identified? When God becomes a man, spiritual authority becomes male. So of course, as a woman, you're going to grow up learning that men are closer to God. Men define morality. Men hold leadership, and women must earn their worth through submission or approval. A lot of things that women do to get the approval of men is insane. You'll be out here looking mentally ill and desperate. And this is what we call male identification, when a woman sees herself and the world through the male gaze. She learns to value male opinions more than her own inner voice. I'm going to say that again. She learns to value male opinions more than her own inner voice. This is why I, as a woman, can come on here and give women valuable advice for free because, I get on YouTube. Every time I make a YouTube video, I lose money. Every time I make a YouTube video, I lose money. I lose on average about $50. But yeah, I will come on here and I'll be share knowledge that is supposed to be helpful to women, and women don't fuck with me like that. But if a man comes on the internet and say the exact same thing that I'm saying, oh, he's gonna blow up, he's going viral, you're sharing his videos, oh my God, protect this man at all costs. That's how women are. And this is one of the reasons why I struggle to take most women seriously. A lot of women I do not trust. I do not trust male identified women. As soon as I get any kind of male identified energy from you, I put you in that category and I tread very carefully. Male identified women will betray you and they will throw you under the bus. They were the same women that would rat out their friends or the women that they were jealous of during the witch hunt and say, oh, she is a witch. These women have not changed. They are still here today and they still walk among us. So I'm going to say that again because I want you all to get this through your thick skull. A woman learns to value male opinions more than her own inner voice. So y'all don't even listen to your intuition. Y'all are looking for a man to come and tell you, oh, you're a queen and you're a goddess and you this and you're that, and a man to give you all this validation when you don't need a male validation. You are already validated. Just being born a woman alone is enough. But I digress. And what she also does is defend male dominance because her identity depends on it. Okay? This isn't just social, it's also spiritual trauma. Let's be real. You'll see how these male identified women will defend these males. And the reason why they defend these males is because their identity depends on it. Look at the way they treat their daughters. If you want to see a male identified woman, this is what I want you to do. Get on TikTok and type boy mom and just scroll through the dysfunction and the creepiness. And honestly, if you don't cringe or your blood doesn't crawl, girl, I don't know, then you are very much blind. That's what I'm saying. So why are spiritual women called witches? Recently someone came under my video. You all know that video that I did about the chakras. The name of the video is Another Spiritual Reason Why You Shouldn't Date a Broke Man. I think that's the video. Yeah, came under the video and she was like, was it that video? Girl, I don't remember. It was one of my videos. Basically, called me a demon because I mentioned astrology in that video. So if you're a woman and you are curious about spiritual stuff, you're a demon, you're a witch. The only thing you should be doing is praying and begging to that male god up in the sky. If you're doing anything other than that, you are a witch or a demon. A woman came under my post and said that. That's a woman, not a man. And this is what I expect men to do. But then again, when I see a woman doing it, I know it's a male identified woman. So don't be surprised that women are male identified. If you are a Christian or a Muslim or even Jewish, those three religions came from those are the three Abrahamic religions, basically. Okay? Very male. If you're one of these religions, you are most likely male identified. If you grew up in one of these religions and you experienced some kind of religious trauma because you were asking questions or you were doing your own thing and they were trying to control you and calling you a Jezebel or whatever, then you know exactly what I'm talking about because you've been around all them crazy male identified women. So anyways, now let's talk about the women who refuse to conform, like the seers, the midwives, the oracles, the priestesses, basically the ones that still heard the voice of the goddess. There are some women that were never disconnected from the goddess. And those women, they call them the Jezebels and the witches or whatever you want to call it, yeah? These women, they don't need or they never need a male priest or a book to connect to the divine. And that in itself made them dangerous. They were always connected. They didn't need to read books or study or be initiated. They had like a built-in gift. And the patriarchy just branded them witches. And then there were the witch hunts. Okay? It was never about magic or witchcraft. It was all about silencing women with spiritual power. If you're dating a toxic man and you have a friend that is not only experienced but is very intuitive, that man is gonna sense that. He's gonna know, and he's gonna try to isolate you and tell you that your friend is bitter, your friend is a hoe, blah blah blah. So, what women have been dealing with for thousands of years is something that I would call the witch wound, plus woman versus woman. Just look at women criticizing each other, women putting down each other, women throwing each other under the bus, women saying shit like that's why you're single, that's why you can't keep a man. Oh, she's fake, she's a slut. This is a problem. Okay? This is a wound that women have to heal. And if you want to heal yourself from this wound, the first thing I'm going to tell you to do is disassociate from male identified women. Do not associate with them, period. And here is where it gets deeper. You know for a fact that some of the women that are the most hostile towards feminine power today are, in fact, the male identified women. They attack spiritual women because, just last week I had someone come in here call me a demon. They attack intuitive women. They attack sexually liberated women. And by sexually liberated, I'm not talking about the ones that are overly promiscuous. I'm talking about the ones that have autonomy over their sexuality. And the reason why they do this is because these women threaten the system that gives them safety. Because these women think that, if I follow the rules and I'm a good woman and I save myself for the right man and I stay loyal, I'll be protected. I'll be chosen. You other bitches are making it harder for us. That is what I call internalized patriarchy and internalized misogyny. And it's spiritual colonization. And it's a generational trauma that has us in a chokehold. And I do not know when, as women, we will be free of all of this bullshit. So we have to remember our power, ladies. We have to remember our divinity. We have to remember that we are the first cause. We are the giver of life and the taker of life. Ever wonder why men hate abortion so much? Do you think abortion is new? Do you think people are having abortions because people are promiscuous or whatnot? Way before patriarchy, women had their ways of aborting a pregnancy. In the animal kingdom, animals eat their own young if they are too stressed out, or they don't feel safe, or if they feel resources are limited, or if they believe that the young ones are not strong enough. It happens in nature, but for some reason, women can't do it. Okay. And just so you know, this is not a political statement whatsoever because I'm not a political person. I don't give a shit. I'm not for abortion or against abortion. I don't care. You are a sovereign being and you have full autonomy and sovereignty to make your own choices. You do not need my permission to do anything. I want you all to understand that I am not one of those people that want you all to be dependent on me. I want you to learn how to be a free thinker, to be a critical thinker and make your own decisions and trust yourself to make the right decisions. The best I can do is share my knowledge and wisdom with you, and you do whatever you will with that information, with the information that I share on here. So we have to remember, okay? This is a call to remember because here's the truth. The goddess was never gone. She lives in your womb. She lives in your intuition, your tears, your rage, your pleasure. And you have to remember, as women, we should not be worshiping a power that enslaves us. We are meant to embody the divine. So no, you're not too sensitive, you're not too emotional, and you're not a witch. You are a woman remembering who you are. So, I mean, I guess that's all I have to say. That's my analysis. But um, before I go, I just have a few more thoughts about male-identified women. All I can tell you is that do not try to convert a male-identified woman. Do not try to understand male-identified women. Do not try to be their friends. A male-identified woman is dangerous. And furthermore, if this is a religious woman, run. Run as fast as you can. Okay? Notice I said religious and not spiritual. That's two completely different things. A religious woman is a dangerous woman to women. She's an agent of the patriarchy. Because we all know the root cause of male identified women is in fact religion. Because these women will always seek validation from men instead of within themselves. They actually believe that female power is considered dangerous unless it's mediated through male structure like marriage, priesthood, or fatherhood. And the ideology, okay, male ideals become the default. That's the default mindset because logic over emotion, hierarchy over cooperation, and domination over intimacy, that is the structure in which they are operating from. To this day, women, spiritual women, okay, women who hold deep knowledge of the stars, like the astrology girlies, the body, the ancestors, and the unseen realm. To this day, these women are demonized. To this day, this is 2025. A man who chooses to quote unquote transition and put on a wig and a makeup and call himself a woman is protected. If you all don't believe that these ideologies is not rooted in patriarchy, I do not know what is. Because the entitlement alone should tell you that it's rooted in patriarchy. The entitlement that these men have. Okay? And they have more rights than you. Nobody's calling them demons. Everybody's saying slay. They put Caitlyn Jenner on the cover of a magazine and call him her Woman of the Year. But you that have knowledge about herbs and alternative medicines, you crazy. You a demon. Because women in the spiritual community, we don't need a middleman to access God. So, this is why women or female mystics are really canonized the way that male mystics are. Because practices like tarot, astrology, womb healing, or ancestral rituals are dismissed as woo-hoo or witchcraft and dark. Stay away from that. Ask yourself why the men want you to stay away from all of that. Why? Why does feminine spiritual authority triggers centuries of unresolved fear and guilt from the collective? Why? These are some questions that I want you all to think about and reflect on, because my final thought here is that religion is one of the most powerful tools in shaping our consciousness. If you want to control a generation or you want to control society, control them with religion. And if you want to control women, make God patriarchal. Because when religion becomes patriarchal, because religion in itself is very much patriarchal because it's all about hierarchy, it just sanctified male supremacy and spiritualized the subjugation of women. But as the author of this book, When God Was a Woman, Merlin Stone, has shown, and not just her, many others, okay? The feminine divine was never lost, only buried, hidden, and demonized. Because our spiritual power, ladies, our feminine spiritual power is ancestral and eternal. Because in spite of all of, patriarchal control, they can't seem to get rid of our intuition because they hate that. They hate the fact that we have intuition. They hate the fact that we are connected to source. Yet still, they want that connection. That's why they always have to attach themselves to a woman, and I want you to understand that, the author, Merlin Stone, is not about replacing God with goddesses. It's not about that. Okay. So the path forward is not about, okay, now we can replace God with goddesses. It's about restoring balance between the masculine and the feminine principles within ourselves and society. Because for too long, women have been spiritually disenfranchised. And for too long, women have been trying to access the divine through males. This is the reason why you're going to see crazy women on the internet saying that if their husband and their child was drowning, they will save their husband. I saw a woman said that on the internet, y'all, and I cannot find that video because I would post that video if I can find that video. This is the reason why we have the boy mom. This is the reason why we'll have mothers that will kick their daughters out of their house at the age of 15, but have their 40-year-old son laying up in the house, not working, not contributing. Because women actually believe men are gods. They believe that men are closer to God. And mind you, these men actually believe that they are also God. They believe that they are God. And let me show you why. Walk into any church right now, any Christian church, and count how many men are in there. You will see an overwhelming majority of women. These men do not believe in God, do not believe in the Bible that they created, that they wrote, because they believe that they are gods. This is why they don't think that they need to go to church. I'm just saying, argue with your mama. Eons and eons of brainwashing. So, boy, crazy women, male-identified women, I stay away from them because I cannot, listen, I cannot be friends with a woman like that. It is too scary. And it's something that I dealt with and I noticed when I was in high school. I'll have these friends that will go crazy over boys and forget that they had friends and would blow you off to go spend time with a boy. And I wasn't doing any of that because I never found males that interesting. Think about it. When have you ever found or met a man that was actually interesting? When was the last time? Every interaction with a man is the same bullshit. They all regurgitate the same things. Nothing they say is original. They always repeat each other. They are incapable of independent thought. And these are the men, these are the people that we elevate above ourselves. It's insane to me. So, anyways, that's my analysis. I hope this was helpful. I hope this answered your question for to the person that commented this. So yeah, thanks for listening.